Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. This is episode number 7. I'm Eric Willis,
And I'm Bob Willis.
and together we'll bring some wit and wisdom. Not sure which one will come out first, but our plan is to at least allow them to show up. Uh, but on today's episode, there was a question that came in, Dad, directly related to something that I hadn't given much thought to before, but it's a great question. Can you fill us in on that question?
Again, someone approached me about eating and grief, and actually the changes that we've been going through because of the pandemic, the stay-at-home orders and such. People get a relationship with their refrigerator, and they're thinking that when the order is given, they can leave the home. They may not be able to get out the front door, so they put on some weight. So what about the grief and eating even? And I wanted to address that a little bit because as a griever, if you were a caregiver for someone who died, during that time of giving care, your eating habits changed and your sleeping patterns changed. And if you're a caregiver for someone, you are on their schedule. You snack when you can, you nap when you can. And there's something in the grief world called comfort food. Food we're drawn to. I really think that starts when we're children and we're crying about something or upset. And some adults going to say, honey, don't cry, here's a cookie. And so we begin to associate feeling bad with food. And as we get older, we trade in the cookie for other things. But it's usually something sweet or something salty that we're just drawn to. That's our favorite food, and we find comfort doing that. In fact, you may come to yourself on the couch and realize there's an empty bag of potato chips. You wonder who ate those, and you realize you just ate those. You ate the entire bag without even thinking. But it's that comfort food. And so there is something. In fact, I had a gentleman in one of my grief groups who said his comfort food was anything he could microwave. So he wanted it quickly is what he wanted, but he can find comfort in doing that. But we do tend to let the diet shift a little bit during times of grief and trial and stress. And so it's easy for us to overdo without thinking about nutrition. What I would recommend is that a person would do almost a journal, a nutrition journal for even a week. And you may be surprised as to what you're putting into your body in that week. I've always heard that we are what we eat. I've heard that. I guess I'm a bottle of water and packed of salted peanuts maybe most days. But we are what we eat. And, I've had people tell me that it's hard to cook for one. If your spouse dies and you're single, you're alone now, it's hard to get the initiative to shop for that food, but it's also hard to prepare that food for one person. So I would recommend prepare for 2, 4, or 6 people, divide it up and freeze it. Then you can pull it out as needed and even have a variety of things that you can pull out. That way you're not thinking in terms of providing just for one. You go ahead and have a selection that you can prepare and put that way. I do think that there are some avenues for nutritionists to prepare meals for grievers. Something quick that they can find that's nutritious. They can pull it from the freezer. They can fix it and prepare it, but it's just for one person. I think there's a tremendous need for that, especially in the area of making sure a person gets the nutrition they need. And of course, nutrition and sleep and rest and activity, and all those things come together to help a person in their grief setting. But I think a nutrition journal would be a valuable thing to do if you feel like you've lost control of things. And it is easy to do, especially during the pandemic of not being able to go where you want to go to eat, not being able to feel comfortable in the store shopping for a while. And so sometimes we just fall back on the old reliable stuff. But it is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that food is bad, so don't think that food is your enemy.
No.
We need food to live and survive.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not the food that's your enemy. The nutrition journal is a great way for you to take a look at what your habits may be and what kind of pattern you're in. I would add to that the concept of hydration. I find that if you're feeling your stomach, reminds you that you're hungry or something, you may not be hungry at all. You may just need water. And so One of the things that I try to do is to drink a glass of water before I eat, a glass of water after I eat. And that way I'm not overeating at any meal. And so hydrate will help with that as well. But eating attached to stress boils down to the feelings. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And so whether it's triggered by grief, whether it's triggered by stress, figure out what you're feeling. Okay, process that feeling. Think through what you're feeling. So there are feeling thoughts and thinking thoughts, and feeling words and thinking words. And how do you process? And find someone to talk to and process and work through that. Just talking about, remind yourself, food's not the enemy, but you're running to it for a reason. And so let's get to the meaning that you're attaching to that reason that you're running to that food. Hydrate. Find someone to talk through if you sense that you're out of control in that area or just need a little direction. Dad, I like what you said about the nutritionist. That it'd be a great opportunity for a nutritionist to put together meals for grievers. Never thought about that. I think that's an excellent idea.
Right. You know, in fact, your grandmother, my mom, who's 95 years old,
Yes, she is.
spent several hours in the hospital this week because she was dehydrated. She does not like to drink water, and she's on an antibiotic for another little issue, so that takes away the fluid also, and so it's just hard for her to drink water. As you get older, we need to drink more water. My cardiologist said we need to water our heart. My optometrist said we need to water your eyes. So I have a feeling we need to water our bodies. Okay?
Yeah.
So
our bodies. Yeah, our bodies are made up of more water than anything else. So
right.
we need to keep that replenished. So
yes.
Well, good. That was a great question, and want to encourage folks to continue to send their questions to us, and we'll be happy to take a look at them and answer them best we can.
Right, and you know, my email of rwillis14@cox.net is a good way to send some questions, or you can do it through the YouTube, or you can do it through Facebook, if you can follow me on that. And I really want people to ask questions. We may not know the answers, but we can research them and come up with some options for people. And speaking of that, Eric, I want you to address some options you have in your life right now. Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. This past week, I made a big decision in my life, and that is I've been in pastoral ministry since the late 80s. And that's a pretty long time to be in pastoral leadership. And so July 31st will be my last full-time day in pastoral church leadership as I am transitioning into a nonprofit ministry I founded years ago called Reclaim Leadership. And so the purpose of Reclaim Leadership is to come alongside ministry leaders like pastors and missionaries, elders, deacons, those serving in the church who have reached a point where they're throwing up their hands and they're saying, if this is ministry, I don't want anything to do with it. They just need some encouragement, need an infusion of hope and biblical perspective to stay the course of ministry. So this past week, I made the announcement that I'll be stepping off of our church staff and going into this full-time ministry of Reclaim Leadership. So that's how you can pray for me. It is a support raising process as well. So it's a huge step of faith for my family and me, but we're excited for the journey to see what God's going to do. So.
Right. And it's a great time in our economy to go into a ministry.
You know, that's exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I told God. I said, no.
Just hold on. Right. But
exactly.
I can speak to that from the pastor standpoint. I've pastored for 18 years. As ministers, sometimes we feel alone, like we're in this battle ourselves. So it does help to have someone we can turn to, someone we can lean on, someone who can, as you say, walk alongside us and give us some guidance in those times we feel like just, hey, nobody likes me. I'm out of here. So, so we need an option.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me share that, Dad. And one of the things that's coming up pretty quickly is the month of October, as some of you may know, has traditionally been known as Pastor Appreciation Month. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing is putting together some pastor kits to infuse hope and perspective. I'll put a couple of my books in there and some other people's books that I think would be really good for folks to have. You have anybody in mind that I could, maybe get
I
their
can
book?
come up with a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come up with a couple.
And so I'll put a kit together. And if you have a pastor that you want to encourage in the month of October, you can send me that contact information, and I'll be happy to provide that information to you on how to get a pastor care kit to a pastor that you want to remind that they're not alone, and you just want to encourage them to stay the course of ministry.
Right. Real important.
Yeah. So the
I'm
best
glad
way.
God has called you, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm glad God has called you to that ministry, sir.
Thank you. I am excited for this next step. And, it seems like my whole pastoral journey has been a boot camp experience for what he's about to launch me into. So I'm excited about it. God didn't give us a spirit of fear or timidity. And so there's a confidence that I have, not a hubris or a cockiness about it, but I know that God is faithful. I know he's going to provide. And I'm excited for the road ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So if you want more information about Reclaim Leadership, that's at reclaimleadership.org. My email is eric@reclaimleadership.org. Be happy to hear from you along the way. So any parting words, Dad, you want to say?
No, I think we had good coverage there. We talk about nutrition pretty good, and people can decide what they want to do personally with that, but it is very normal to struggle with that in times of stress.
Absolutely. Which is why I've been drinking a lot more water lately. So, all right. Well, thank you, friends, for joining us today on this episode of Willis Wit and Wisdom. We hope you'll join us next time as well. In the meantime, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel here. Send us an email with some questions that we might be able to answer for you. Stay safe. God bless, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye. See you, folks.